Hello and welcome to the Film Lover's Guide to the Galaxy. We are here as always to talk about movies and such. I am Jared and I am here with Joe and Johnny. How have you guys been this past week?
Pretty busy, just staying pretty busy.
Yeah.
A lot of work, but I've been able to kind of, in preparation for the episode, I rewatched a couple things, and I think when I rewatched them, I liked them just as much as I watched them originally when I back in wherever.
That's been the real gift for me of recording this every week is like I really got to be on my movie watching, and it really like gives me a nice little break to watch this stuff. Like, I'm in school, I have a bunch of homework and work and all that stuff. This really gives me a chance to kind of sit down and dedicate some time to watching these old movies and things I loved and really think about them. Because if it wasn't for this podcast, the only thing I would watch live every week or anything I would give time to make time for is pro wrestling on Wednesday nights. So with that, what have you guys been getting into other than our subject for tonight? You guys been watching anything?
So I decided to give the DCAU a shot. So I've burned through 7 of those movies in order. I can see why a lot of people like them. I won't deny that. I think some of the storylines there are things that hopefully whoever's running DC for those live actions should take a look at and kind of grab some of that essence. It started off strong because the Flashpoint Paradox, I think, is probably still the best one I've seen. Another one that I enjoyed was Batman Bad Blood, simply because a bunch of damn Batmans in that damn movie, which I thought was pretty cool. I just actually, before we started recording, I just finished Teen Titan, the Judas Contract or something like that.
Oh, very nice.
So they're solid for the most part. They don't feel like movies. The way I watch them, it seems just like 1 hour, like long TV episodes, more or less. But the cool thing about this is that, and what hopefully the live action kind of take does, not only the character component of focusing on one and kind of like breaking down why they feel a certain way, but these guys, with at least with this timeline, doesn't care if you actually know what's happening or not. They kind of do it like in media res, so you're kind of just there and you kind of put the pieces together. Now, if you're a big comic book fan, which I heard this is more based off the New 52 comics, you probably get a lot from it. But to me, the cool thing is that like I see the little subtle changes, but it's not something that like I just sit in the back and be like, why they do that, why they do this. You go along with the flow because this is kind of the world they're creating. But yeah, I've been just burning through those movies right now. I got like 4 left or 5 left to
Oh,
kind of
that's
finish
great.
it up.
Yeah, I really like the DC animated stuff. I really like the Constantine ones. That's a character that I feel kind of gets short changed in a lot of adaptations, The Keanu Reeves one was great. I think there's room for a legitimate procedural in that for Constantine. And I know that what was it, CW tried to do one and it was just kind of whatever, but I think if they really did it on like a streaming platform that was like a hard PG-13 or an R, I think it would be really, really good. Like a total like horror anthology involving the occult, something like that with the Constantine character would be really, really good. What about you, Joe? What have you been watching, playing?
In terms of playing, I picked up Hearthstone again.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
I don't know. It's just been and I hate to say it, but it's been aside from the topic, that's really about it. Just a lot of work, a lot of BS I had to deal with, and so it's just been an extra busy week is all. And it is what it is, but hopefully it'll kind of cool
Cool.
down in a bit. But that's really about all I got been going on this week. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. It's been pretty busy on my end. I've been actually playing quite a bit. After not playing video games for a while, I got Resident Evil 7. I'm
Nice,
still
nice.
slowly inching through that because it's way too scary. I heard it gets not scary in a little bit, but I can't see how that's a thing
I
considering it's a
watched,
first person.
yeah, I watched a couple like let's plays on not let's plays, but like Twitch streams of the people playing. It seems really good. Like I think it's been
Yeah,
mega popular.
I want to play it before I play Resident Evil Village because I heard they kind of connect, whatever. But I also got the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, the where it has all three Mass Effect games, and I'm playing through that. Pretty glad. And then I was able to catch a couple Dodger games. I'm usually too busy doing homework or other stuff to be watching the Dodgers too much. But yeah, it's been once summer gets here. I think I'm gonna try to carve out some time for that. And
Good shit. Good shit.
so we were talking about this before we started recording, or maybe when it was recording. I can't really remember. The Friends reunion
Oh
trailer
boy.
just dropped,
Oh boy.
and I know Johnny doesn't really watch Friends. He's not a That's not his jam. Johnny, does your wife watch Friends?
And we do not care about that show.
Oh, okay, cool.
Like there's I remember watching the show from time to time during high school, and I just didn't think it was all that
Hmm.
great. There's only like a couple episodes in mind that I can remember that I think I like laughed out loud. I think there was that one episode where Joey was like he was using the air quotes wrong, and then he finally got it
Oh
right.
yeah.
That,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
that to me was like the funniest thing I saw because I'm more like,
Sorry.
oh shit,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but other
Uh,
than that, not really.
my favorite episode is probably a lot of people's favorites when they were doing like the trivia kind of thing, trivia game.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's great. But it really struck me. So my relationship with Friends, I never really watched it when I was younger. I watched it when I had to have my wisdom teeth emergency pulling of my wisdom teeth.
Uh-huh.
Christmas, like 4 or 5 years ago, my wisdom tooth cracked open.
Yeah.
Whole thing, and I was
Mhm.
hurting. I was laid out. They pulled all four at once. So
Good.
I was laid out for like a good week.
And
And
you
I
watched
just was
all the
watching
Friends.
him. I was in this like drug induced like Vicodin haze of like, oh, Joey's funny kind of thing. But I've watched it since then. But it really struck me with like we were talking about how old they are and how I said this before, how I just didn't buy their relationship in it. It seems I don't know whether it was just for the commercial, it was not enough watching, but it I didn't really buy their friendship. It seems like they were going through the motions.
Yeah, maybe for the reunion for sure, but yeah, that's how I sort of felt about Friends overall. I growing up, I didn't really care for it. Like, you guys remember Gilmore Girls? Like it
Yeah.
yeah, it's it was. I never really watched that either. Like, I've watched a couple episodes here and there, but I know that I'm not probably the target audience. And I still don't think Friends is necessarily I'm the target audience for Friends. So while they were sort of thing, I really didn't have any interest.
Yeah.
And what I did was I would there's like always these YouTube clips of funny moments in Friends episodes, and I sort of got into it. It was kind of funny, and you got to understand. I completely understand it was a sitcom. So in the last, I'd say year or two, I just sort of because I think they were on Netflix at the time, and I have HBO
Hmm.
Max as well. I just had it on the background, and the I think the best thing about Friends is that all the episodes are seemingly independent in the sense that you can
Yeah.
put on any episode and you're good.
It really is a relic of its time, isn't it? It's 20 something episodes of a half hour sitcom every season. Gosh, can you imagine how much writing that had to do and how much
Yeah,
like
a
what
giant team
kind
of
of
writers.
schedule that had to take? Let
But
alone the Simpsons. They're working years ahead of, sending the
yeah,
stuff like getting it animated, sending it to Korea, yada yada.
I think the
But
second you have a mega hit like this where it pulls
good
in millions and millions of dollars, you bring in a whole team of writers. Just keep that
good
going.
lord, like working on 23 or 24 episodes a season, let's say 22 because one of them is probably a clip show. Um I like what is that like to work on?
I do remember watching a documentary on not Seinfeld,
South Park.
South Park, like 7 Days to Air or something like that.
Yeah, that's a great
And
one, and they were able to like get it put all together by the
right,
day of and all that
yeah,
stuff.
I think there's always gonna be crunch time with this sort of thing. So
But
it's
like
sort
at
of
least that was animation. This is like live. What is that? And then towards the end, it kind of got pared down to like maybe 15 episodes, 10 episodes, and they were making $1
right.
million an episode each.
They were still underpaid, I think,
I think so. I
just
think if it
because.
was today, it would be even bigger. But then
Yeah,
again, I don't think you could make that show today. Some of the jokes, man, that are in that now are pretty rough. Really, like
yeah, they're
really
not that
not
funny sometimes.
kind to gay people, really not kind to
The good old
minorities and all
'90s,
that
right?
stuff. Yeah, it was such like it was like I said, a relic of its time of like Gen X being like, oh yeah, there's kind of that bullshit. Like it those really stand out now because it's such lazy comedy. You know what I mean? It's
It
such
worked for the time, and people
no,
still like
exactly.
it
I mean,
today.
that's where we were at. But I'm just reflecting on watching it now and being like, oh, that's wow, that's
I don't
kind
know
of
if it really got
wild.
better. Like I know that Big Bang Theory is real popular. For at least however many seasons ran for, and I really gave it a good
Oh
college
man,
try at it.
I
It
absolutely cannot stand that show.
I because I was thinking it's popular for a reason, blah blah blah. It wasn't good. I think I was still a moderate fan of Modern Family.
Mhm.
It sort of didn't do so hot towards the end, but
I think that really broke the mold, though. Modern Family was, I think it was pretty good. Johnny, did you watch Modern Family?
Yeah, I love Modern Family. I think
Yeah.
out of all like kind of like the sitcoms, I think
Hmm.
Modern Family will probably stand as something that you can kind of rewatch.
Yeah.
Friends, like you were talking about, probably has jokes. I know for a fact How I Met Your Mother. There's episodes where if you watch them
Oh,
now, it's rough, right?
rough.
So because like you guys were talking about having writers and producing that many episodes, you're trying to stay current at the times, and sometimes you just miss because maybe you're on the wrong side of making those jokes. And so that's why it kind of won't age well. But that's why I think Modern Family will, just because the dynamic of just family itself just
Hmm.
works as a through line.
Man, I completely forgot about How I Met Your Mother. I think I bleached it from my
well,
memory after
people
how
were
bad that last
pissed
season
off
was.
how it ended.
Johnny,
Um,
that last season is 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 actively bad. I like it's almost like they sat down and were like, how can we piss off this fan base for this last season?
but yeah, I dig that. But also on the topic of Modern Family, I'm big up on Ed O'Neill. The fact that
Oh,
he
so
went
good.
from he did Married with Children, which was awesome, and he did other stuff, and he had another mega series. That's I mean, how often did that happen? And big fan of the guy, big fan.
Favorite he's my favorite character in Wayne's World. The crazy donut
Yeah,
guy.
okay. I completely forgot he was in that movie. Holy
Yeah.
shit. It's like it's funny because when I try to think of him in movies, it's very hard. Like the only movie that burns to my mind was he's the other coach in Little Giants against Rick Moranis.
Wow. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was so good in that movie. I love that movie.
One of our topics should be like bad ending TV show series or something. Like
Yeah.
there's enough there, right? I figure.
There's definitely enough there. It's
So,
so hard to stick a landing, I don't.
well, Breaking Bad did a pretty good job because they ended on their own terms. I think a lot of these shows, when they do well, the production company's like, let's just ride this, is let's keep on beating this dead horse until it stops bleeding money. And that sucks, but that's why you have Fast and Furious 15. I
I'm
mean, people will
uh
still watch that shit.
I'm looking at the quotes that Ed O'Neill's character has from Wayne's World. Just this, if you stab a man in the dead of winter, steam will rise up from the wounds.
Oh Lord.
Native Americans believed it was his soul escaping from his body, and then like the camera pans kind of away. Oh my god! Oh, Wayne's World is. I don't think Wayne's World ever will get enough credit because it's so
It's
so
it's
funny.
it has a cult following for sure.
but we are going to move into our lists right now. Johnny, do you want to explain kind of the impetus behind the list for this week?
Hey guys, so celebrating AAPI month, we decided we're going to talk about Korean cinema. And so we're going to have our top 5 list, but I want to emphasize this is more of a recommendation than us kind of
Absolutely.
ranking it in. I think one of the things that I know getting into a different genre of film, especially foreign films, is that we can be daunted because there's so many or we don't know what we're looking for. So hopefully with us three, we are giving you guys a little bit different flavor for each one and why we would recommend for you guys to check it out. I think all these movies will be accessible, and that way, I think Korean. Well, it depends because some of them can be. I know mine. The ones that I watch are. I mean, you just got to pay to rent it. You're not gonna find a lot that's going to be on a streaming service, so you're going to actively have
Yeah.
to rent it either from like Apple or Google,
When
Amazon,
I
wherever you get
when
your
I
movies.
say accessible, I think of like, can you stomach the watch through? Because a couple of mine, and I remember watching, and it was a little bit rough. But yeah, Joe, what did you want to say anything about Korean cinema as a whole?
Korean cinema as a whole, believe it or not, is not as popular as Korean TV shows and variety shows.
Yeah, they're into the melodrama, or kind of like what you would call novellas.
Yeah, the thing with Korean films is that there's a lot of people who really get their fame through variety shows and doing, being a K-pop star or all
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. So a very common route for success. And again, I also have to mention that being a K-pop star in Korea can also be not great. Like there's a lot of abuse there. There's a lot of forced things there, not necessarily sexually, but just they
No,
they like
it's like a mill almost. Like it's
yeah,
very
like a puppy
manufactured.
mill, right?
Hmm.
So, but you'll have people who can handle it or whatever, and they become stars. And these stars, and really how it kind of rotates is these stars are put on what we call variety shows. I'm not sure if variety shows are necessarily popular in America. You can always check them out. There's something called Running Man. It's kind of an older variety show, really funny to me. And again, it's in Korean. That's the thing. And Korean humor is pretty much shown in variety shows. And there's tons of these things, absolutely tons of these. But
Yeah.
if you just do a quick cursory Google search, you'll see like the top 5 or 10. Just give that a gander. But from there, the big thing there are just doing like Korean dramas, which everyone's familiar with, Korean soap operas, etc., and all that kind of stuff. And then a layer above that is movies. And so a lot of Korean cinema, to me, are supported by these more basic, fundamental things of Korean pop culture. So I think it's quite
See,
the
that's
opposite in
pretty.
America.
It's pretty interesting. I'll speak actually to Japan. I've spent, I have family that lives there, and I'm part Japanese myself, and so when I go over there, I'm, just hanging out for a while, and I watch TV. The TV in Japan's bad. It's
I
it's
did
a
not know
lot
that.
of slice of life, kind of just like it's like a C-level celebrity doing an activity while like a B or A level celebrity watches them do this, and you're watching them watch them
Yeah, you're
do this
reacting to their
activity.
it's like a reaction video.
Yeah, it's really strange, and their circles are on screen with their
Yeah,
face, and
on
they're
the
like,
corner.
"Oh,
Yeah,
yeah." It's very strange, and like you'll watch it and being like, "Wait,
but
is this?"
man, Japanese people are into that shit. Then obviously,
It's
right?
crazy. Like I'll go, and of course there's their like dramas and all that. My grandma loves like these like period dramas, and I'll give a couple recommendations for Asian American History Month that you can find on Netflix. I highly recommend Midnight Diner and Samurai Gourmet, two
Very cool.
really
Okay.
good scripted drama slash comedies from Japan. My dad and I will watch it and just get like super into it and like really hungry for Japanese food. But other than that, like other than these kind of like reality quote unquote shows and like crazy game shows and whatnot that they're kind of known for, it's like documentary kind of stuff. Like, oh, look at the seafood markets in Hokkaido. Oh, look at this. Oh, like
Some of that stuff's cool, but I think if
it's
there's too much of it,
oh my, that's all there is.
yeah,
Like here it would be like a channel dedicated to
right,
that.
right,
Oh,
like
cool.
the History Channel
There,
or the
it's
Discovery Channel.
almost every fucking channel. And my brother and I one night were just like, what is going on? And the comedy is really slapstick. It's really like situational.
Yeah, it's like
It's real
fucking with somebody.
strange
I mean,
when you're yeah, with
it's
these
but when it hits, I have like the I can't breathe belly laugh sort of thing because how
yeah.
funny it is
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's fascinating to know that South Korea is, got these tiers of entertainment.
So to speak, yeah.
Yeah. And we're tonight we are listing our top 5 favorite South Korean films. So Johnny, we'll have you go first. Number 5. What's number 5 for you?
And number 5, I'm going through like different genres. So this is more of the action drama or action variety. So if you guys want to check out a good action Korean film, this one came out in 2010. It's called A Man from Nowhere. I think it's still on Netflix now. If you guys want to check it out, basically it's this guy that gets caught up in this kind of like fight between these gangs, and he's protecting a girl. So if you guys watch Leon the Professional, it kind of has those same type of vibes. It's the first time where I saw kind of like an action film where, at least from a different country, I'm like, oh shit, this is like pretty well choreographed. It's pretty nonstop. The emotional connection's really good. Plus, I read where the lead actor, he's like one of like kind of like a heartthrob, like one of the main stars from that. So, but yeah, I would definitely, if you're looking for a really good action film, The Man from Nowhere, something you should check out.
Nice. I'm definitely going to be taking notes to watch some of these. You said it gave off some Leon the Professional vibes. That's right up my alley.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that it's a app comparison. It's just when you have a person that kind of does that, like Leon the Professional, even Man on Fire. If you guys really enjoyed like the kind of Tony Scott, Denzel Washington movie, then yeah, I guarantee you'll enjoy this film.
You mentioned Tony Scott, and I'm in. Joe, your number 5, sir.
A quick comment. Man from Nowhere is a movie I watched in Korea while I was in Korea. It's kind of interesting. Everything you said was accurate. The one thing I gotta say though is the lead for that is like a I don't want to okay. It's basically a pretty boy that did romantic Korean dramas. So it's like a
Okay.
complete 180. But a lot of people do that and they do it well. And in this case, he did.
So
And
I would guess then when this movie came out, at least in Korea, they must have been like, oh shit,
I
he's
mean,
like
that's the point,
doing
right?
something
Because like
different, right?
it's interesting because this guy's doing something different, so that's the whole selling point. And the title is actually it's called Ajashi in Korean, and that just means like this guy, So I don't know how the translation works from that. I mean,
This
it's
guy.
just, yeah,
I
it's like
mean,
this guy.
he really was this guy in that movie.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So I'm going to try to hit a bunch of like genres, like you said. The one I'm going to go with right now is called The Host. It's with again a lot of these movies is Bong Joon-ho, by the way, and it's not intentional. I'm serious. So when I watched these movies when they came out, this came out in 2006. I don't watch movies and go, oh, who's the director? I just watch them. So you just tell me. So this is Bong Joon-ho and Song Kang-ho, which is still the same guy at Parasite. Okay, The Host is it's like a monster movie. I think I'm suggesting it first on number 5 just because it's like a nice little easy movie that a lot of people can relate to. Like people watch Cloverfield, people watch all that kind of stuff, and people get it. Like it's supposed to be an action horror big ass monster thing. Keep in mind though, please, the movie did come out in 2006, and they do show the monster, and it's technology might maybe
the
not as
CGI has not aged well with that
right,
movie.
but the interesting. Okay, so the one thing I do have to mention on horror like sad Korean films is, I think a lot of American films is like, let's have a feel good ending. Sometimes Korean films like, fuck
Yeah.
you, that girl dies, and you're like, what? And so that's not necessarily what happens in this one. I don't want to ruin it for anything, but it doesn't necessarily have a nice rap ending for this kind of thing, but it's a nice little movie to kind of dip your toes in. The Host, and I think you'll recognize a lot of these people in it. So, The Host, 2006, check it out. That's my number 5.
Joe, I will mirror that sentiment at number 5.
Ooh,
The Host, man, The Host is so good because it's got that like uh, kind of that humor behind it, you know? It's got that
for what, like a playful vibe almost, I'd say.
yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. Bong Joon-ho has this ability to have like these sinister moments happen in his movies, but they have this underlying sense of comedy to them. You know what I mean? Parasite was full of them.
Yeah,
You know, there's like
exactly.
this like creeping like menace, like like in Parasite when I'll get to Parasite's on my list. I'll get to it then.
Okay.
But I'm just saying my list is full of Bong Joon Ho and
He's
Park
just,
Chan Wook.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
mean,
Nice, nice. Yeah, I probably know what movie you're gonna talk to him about, but I mean, those guys are just like mega stars, and
mhm.
they didn't stop making movies. They keep on making them, so
And
they're
their
good.
production, their frequency of putting out movies is fucking incredible. It's boom, 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 boom.
Yep, they're workaholics.
And a lot of the South Korean cinema has themes of the Korean War, of communism, of their relationship with the North. It's all over
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah. People
in
really,
these films,
yep,
and you would expect that for a society what happened there and to reflect in their art, and it's all over the place if you look for it. The Host is great. I really really like it, and it was my number 5. I don't know what else
good
to say.
choice, good choice.
Johnny, number 4 for you, sir.
Number 4 is a movie that I saw in high school, and it made me realize, like, holy shit, these people. Well, I don't want to say these people, but Korean filmmakers. I was like, I didn't know that I can see Korean films like this, and it's Park Chan Wook's Old Boy.
Mhm.
This movie, if you guys want a revenge drama, you want horror that, like, violence that is like, I remember seeing some of the scenes in that movie, and it's just like my skin kind of crawled because I was like, oh shit, I didn't know you can film this
Yeah,
kind of stuff
yeah.
within the movie. um Never seen what an Oedipus complex looked like on screen before, and I saw it with this one here, which I was like, oh, this is kind of this, and basically just this aloof guy didn't take care of his life, then he gets entrapped and then released 14 years later, and he's like kind of exploring, figuring out who kind of trapped him, and there's a lot of things that happen within this movie that just made me say, oh my god, the
It
hell
makes
am
your
I
skin
watching?
crawl in
It
like
does.
the best way.
Yeah. And it made me wanted to seek out more of what Korean cinema had to offer.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you guys are looking for something within this type of genre, Old Boy is the movie I would tell you to go watch. I have that at 4.
That's a great choice. That remake though, it's
Yeah.
it's
Uh,
So
something.
let me talk to you this about the remake with Spike Lee. First off, I knew something was wrong when it said it was a Spike Lee film and not a Spike Lee joint.
Joint,
That means
yeah.
I know that he didn't really have a lot of say of what was going on. I
Mhm.
think if you were an American viewer that never seen the Korean version, it's a okay movie.
Yeah.
Um, you got to see Elizabeth Olsen, so I'm like, all right, whatever. But if you've seen the Korean film and then you watch this, you're just
Yeah.
like, ah, shit, man, come on, dude.
It's such a neutered version of that original movie.
It is, and I I love Josh Brolin. He was trying his hardest, but it
Oh,
just
yeah.
there was a loss in translation within that script that just couldn't he couldn't jump through to American cinema.
And I want to say the intensity wasn't there. The intensity of how fucking crazy that hallway fight is, the intensity and the grime that's in that movie,
Yeah,
absolutely lost.
yeah, that one shot take that is in both these movies, one felt very real, the other one felt very staged, and it's two different types of filmmaking to kind of put it side by side.
All right, Joe, what is your number 4 movie?
Same director, same lead. It's called Memories of Murder.
Oh,
It's a detective movie. It's a very gritty detective movie, and I'm sort of like I realize that now that I'm sort of because look, I could put Minari on my list. I could put Parasite on my list. I could put Old Boy on my list. The reason I've been picking movies that people might have not necessarily heard of. But again, but Parasite would be way on my list. Minari would be way on my list. Old Boy would definitely be on my list. So just keep that in mind when I do suggesting of movies. But so this again, Memories of Murder is basically like an old school cop finding a serial killer kind of thing. The like I said, for a lot of these Korean films, they don't necessarily have a happy ending. They really like it's a very very gritty, very grindy, very bloody, very punch the guy in the face sort of thing. It's I watched it. I think when it also came out. This must have came out when I'm in high school as well. And honestly, I don't even know how I hear these things. Sometimes my mom's like, "Here, check this out." It's like, "Damn, mom, give me this shit, Jesus Christ." But no, it was great. And I really much enjoyed it. I think that sometimes it could be a little bit too dark, and it has sort of an overall dark theme. Very interesting ending. I don't want to spoil that part, but I think it sort of checks all my boxes of what I'd want in like a murder mystery with detectives.
you
So
know,
memories, what's up?
I've noticed that they do noir so well in South Korea.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. Yeah, this is a great noir-ish film,
And
and they're
and
very dark.
it's just they have the feel, they have the grittiness, they have all of that to a perfect pitch in their films. And it's really great to see.
Oh yeah, big time, big time.
My number 4 is the first part in the Vengeance trilogy, which Old Boy is the second part.
Oh, I see.
Mine is Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and directed by Park Chan Wook. And gosh, it's the first. I remember buying the trilogy because Old Boy was in it, and I was like, oh, okay, like cheap on Amazon, I'll get it. And it was this 3 Blu-ray set. The first one is Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. Second one's Old Boy. Third one is Lady Vengeance. And Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance is really messed up. It's got a lot of great scenes to it. It's about a, a man who's a deaf mute who works in a factory. His sister is in desperate need of a kidney transplant, but he's not a match. And he loses his job and he kind of goes through the black market and this whole thing. And then I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but there's this, there's a ransom plot. There's this, there's that. It's so dark in the end. And I remember watching it and the ending just kind of sitting there going like, oh shit, like I don't know how to feel about this. Like, you watch these like a lot of movies and it's good, but at the end you're like, ooh, I am like your stomach, you're just kind of feel uneasy. I love this movie. I think it's definitely worth a watch, as is the whole Vengeance trilogy. And it's one of those films that has an undercurrent of critique on North Korea that I really, really like.
I get the feeling that all of our films will have a dark theme.
Yeah.
Dark.
Uh, yeah, I that's a good call. Joe,
Because what's up?
how many of these movies on our list have Achilles tendon cutting? Because I noticed that's a theme in
It's
South Korean
like
movies.
it's that or like breaking of knees or shins or
Fuck,
something.
Like I
Uh,
want to say in like okay, one, two, three of my top five movies all have a scene where the Achilles tendon is cut, and it's not leading up to it. It's a boom flash cut to it, a slice, and I'm just going, oh,
I mean, they can't go anywhere after that. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Some of these things, a lot of these tropes are you reused a lot. I'm sort of kind of numb to it, but sort of, I just don't think that on a separate topic, the other kind of genres of Korean movies will be in any of our flavors. Like none of you guys are really gonna watch like romantic Korean films. They're
no, definitely not.
extremely girly. Now the audience love it. It's just we're not the target audience by a long
Yeah,
shot. So
absolutely. This is, you know,
three
this
dudes,
is three guys, three Asian guys.
clearly,
um, you know, this is just our recommendation, and if
yeah.
you want to branch out from that, feel free to. But these are definitely our recommendations, and by no means am I saying this is the end all be all of
Yeah,
Korean cinema.
I'd say if you're like a 30 late 20s 30-year-old dude that wants to get into Korean film, and you probably have the same taste as us. So there you go.
All right, Johnny, your number three, sir.
Sticking with horror, but it's more traditional zombie horror, is Train to Busan. If you guys like kind of, any zombie type of movie, Train to Busan will be right up your alley. It was just a father protecting his kid as a zombie outbreak happens on a train, which seems foreign to Americans, but works really well within this set. Works so well that they're trying to do a remake in America, which I don't know how it's going to happen because who uses the Amtrak these days, right? So I don't know how that's going to happen. But I absolutely love kind of like the familial connection throughout the whole movie. The zombies in Korean films, especially this one, moves really fast and they don't really care, which I thought was pretty cool to kind of watch and go through. A lot of building of suspense throughout. So if you guys want horror, zombie horror, Train to Busan's the one I put at number 3.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I really want to.
It's exactly what you'd expect. So at least when you're going in, it's sort of if you watch Resident Evil, you're like, this is what I'm going to expect. It totally delivers. Same thing with Train to Busan. So
And there's nothing wrong with that. You
no,
know,
it's a great
sometimes I
movie.
want some fucking zombies, and I'm gonna get some fucking zombies.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, why don't you give us your number three?
Again, I have a lot of movies on my list. So my number 3 was Train to Busan. So what I'll do is I will also suggest the sequel, the Korean sequel, Peninsula.
Hell yeah, Joe, I love it.
Yeah, it's just a continuation of like a couple years later what happens, and all this shit goes down, and it's just more of that. And so if you like Train to Busan, Peninsula will give you the same thing. And you know, it's a lot of this. It's a nitty gritty. People getting their shit cut, people getting bitten, people like exploding, trying to like survive and stuff. I just overall though, I think that zombie films are like a genre on its own sometimes because it's like a subcategory of horror, and it's uh, I have a mixed feeling because I remember my first zombie movie I watched was something like 28 Days Later or something, and shit was crazy. And I watched 28 Weeks Later. That
That's
was
almost
crazy.
not a zombie movie though,
Yeah, I mean, okay, so then it'll be
but I get what you're saying.
yeah, then it'd be all of like the Resident Evil stuff because I thought it was cool because I was super into Resident Evil. And I'm trying to think of another zombie movie, not just a TV show.
Gotta go with George Romero, man. You gotta watch any of his movies.
Yeah, I can dig it. But I think whenever I go into a movie knowing that the zombie movie, I'm never like disappointed because I'm like I want it to be XYZ, almost always XYZ. So for you guys listening, Train to Busan checks all those boxes. Peninsula also checks those boxes with a Korean twist. So I guess that'll be my number 3.
With the Korean twist, I love it.
Korean twist.
Well, my number three is a film by Bong Joon Ho called Mother, and it's a movie that follows a mom, a mother, after, and she has a intellectually disabled son, and her son is accused of the murder of a young girl, and the mom, attempts to find the real killer, in order to free her son. And gosh, this movie's just great. You know, Bong Joon Ho writes characters so well. You know, this movie is heartbreaking. It's great. I love it. And I remember I watched it when we had an old theater around here in Southern California that showed old movies and kind of
You talking about the
foreign
Warner?
films. I watched it at the Bay in Seal Beach.
Oh yeah, okay.
And it showed there. I watched it after work one night. For a while there, I had a good run of just when I after work I'd bring a beer with me. I'm a big proponent of bringing your beer into the movie theater.
Yeah, throw away your
Bring a
trash. You're
can,
good.
bring whatever, clean up your trash afterward, of course,
Yeah, hundred
but
percent, 100%.
enjoy your beer with your movie, everybody. Okay? That's when I worked at Trader Joe's, I loved it. I would get off at like 9, I'd grab a Modern Times, something, go to the that's how I
I'm
watched Doctor Strange. It was
I'm
awesome.
loving these routines you have.
Dude, oh man, it's the best. That's what I miss most about going to the theater.
The Mother, yeah, Mother was it's a great film. It's Kim Ji-ha was
Yeah.
again very popular, and she plays a lot of. She's very popular in Korean dramas.
Oh, is she?
Uh,
I see. I didn't know that. She was absolutely wonderful in this.
and so you know how in TV in American TV there's like who's that guy that always plays like the Mexican bald-headed gangbanger? You know what I mean? There's always like he's Hector or something. Like
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about. It's like a
so
bit actor.
yeah,
Yeah.
Kim Jae-ha plays the mom
Mm-hmm.
in everything. But it's a Korean it's in the sense of Korean drama. But in this one, man, if none of you guys watch it, again parroting what he said. It is a lot of twists, a lot of
Yeah.
it's a
Great
revenge movie,
ending. I,
you know,
I and
fantastic ending.
yeah, I remember watching it, going like, oh, like just one of those you're sitting there going, oh shit.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
feel most of these movies have a moment like that in them of oh shit,
I
you
mean
know.
that's the Korean thing to do, I think, you know.
Yeah, I am thinking more about that now, and it's like fuck, like most of them have a oh shit moment, and
Yeah.
I love those. I think they're fun. I think that's why we all go see movies, and I can't wait to get back into a theater and have a collective oh shit moment again
There
with
we go.
people.
There we go. Good shit.
Johnny, we're on number 2, bud. Give me your number 2.
This came out a couple years ago, and it's called Burning. I think it's a very good character study in terms of how our society is right now. I didn't know that this director hasn't directed a movie for a little bit. It has Stephen Yeun. It has I don't know who the other two are, so forgive me, but it kind of plays out where it's like you can't tell who you want to trust within the movie. Stuff does end up burning towards the end of the movie. If you guys haven't seen the trailer, I would recommend it. I wouldn't want to ruin the study of this one, but it's one of the first movies I see, one of the movies in terms of Korean drama where I'm like, oh shit, like it's an actual character study film about the role people have and how they men relationships or how they view relationships with certain people and reviewing their history. So if you guys haven't seen it, I would highly recommend Burning.
Steven Yeun, man, he's blowing up, eh?
He is, the more and more I realize it, the more and more I think about it, the more and more I realize he deserved a lot better in Walking Dead.
Oh yeah, I thought
You
that
know,
he was that his breakout role, The Walking
I
Dead.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
really I
that's how I
didn't.
learned of him. So
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good thing that they got rid of him
he can do more. He can do
during the
more
time.
Oh
So
other
yeah, for
shit.
his career,
doing it for
hell
his
yeah.
career, it's way better as it is than being stuck there.
But there's a little bit of luck factor because there's a lot of people who've been cut from really big shows and they do nothing. Nothing sticks. So I'm glad in his case it stuck. So
All right, Joe, give me the old number 2.
number two, I very much like this film. It's called Peppermint Candy.
Ooh, okay.
Uh, the best way I can say that is it's like Memento. If you guys remember Memento, it's a movie that essentially played backwards because this guy's having issues with short-term memory, so they walk it
Hmm.
backwards. Now, there's not really. I can actually kind of explain it without spoiling anything. Basically, this guy is having kind of like a shitty life, and the movie starts with the shittiest part of his life. Like there's like four acts to it. The first act is like the current, like today, really shitty, and the second act is like let's say this guy was 40. Like the second act is his 30s. Like what led up to his 40s. Second, and then the next act is in his 20s. What up to his 30s, and the final act is when he was a kid. And believe it or not, this is has because all of our movies we picked so far were very sad and dark and stuff. There's a little bit of happiness in this one. I'm not gonna because the real twist in this is sort of like the middle bit. So again, this guy, the movie starts off saying, I want to kill myself, whatever, whatever, and then you're like, what the fuck's going on with this guy? Why does he want to do this? And the middle half of the movie kind of describes, things that happen, but at the very end, because the end isn't really a spoiler, but the end's like so the sort of his very very beginning of his life when he was like in elementary school or high school or something. It kind of shows like he was a happy kid. He was like, he met a girl that he really liked in high school or in middle school or whatever it is, and he had no troubles in his life and that kind of thing. And the whole point of the director making this movie was the fact that it's sort of sad that this guy came from originally like a very happy, very innocent childhood. All this shit went down, and now he's, let's say he's 40 years old and at like a ridiculous crossroads in his life that he can't get out of. So it's very interestingly made. I don't think there's a lot of movies out there that sort of do that kind of format, even though there are. Uh, and this came out like when I was also in middle school, I think, and it was a very very sad watch because I think I also watched when I watched it. I didn't watch it when it first came out, but I think I watched Memento and then I watched this. So I was like, this is interesting that it sort of happened that way. Memento is quite confusing to me when I watched the first 25 minutes. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? But it's I think in general it's difficult to make movies in that kind of format. But when you can do it, I think and you do it well, it's fantastic. So that's my recommendation for Pepper Candy. Just know that it's something I suggest watching after you sort of get comfortable with Korean cinematography. And it's an older film. Just remember that it came out in like 2000 or something. So just remember that. And that's my number two.
I think you bring up a good point about being comfortable with Korean cinematography.
Yeah, yeah,
These movies definitely have a language to them that is wholly unto their own. You
okay,
know, like I said about like kind of the stinger, kind of like the oh shit moments. Those,
yeah,
um, I talked about kind of the smash cut to the cutting of the Achilles.
yeah,
Like they're really not just the Achilles, but I mean they're really visceral in a very sudden way. My number two movie that I'm about to talk about is like that. It goes from 0 to 100 in a fucking instant. And it's absolutely crazy. And my number two movie, I Saw the Devil,
yeah. That's all. That's full action, dude. That's
is like some of the craziest camera work I've seen. There's a scene where so it's a movie about this police detective whose wife gets murdered by a serial killer.
yep.
And his wife was pregnant. And it is the most intense movie I've ever seen. I really think it is. There's a scene where the serial killer's in the car with another serial killer, um, and there's a taxi guy driving them, and then they start stabbing each other and the driver, and the camera is going 360 around the car while it's
Yeah.
happening, and there's this sense of movement and intense action that I've never seen before. And I just sat there wide eyed. There are scenes in this film that are so uncomfortable and so brutal that it's just intense. You know,
It's a bloody movie,
it's
and
hard to recommend almost. You know,
it's it's also sort of like everyone loses sort of movie.
yeah, it absolutely is, and that's kind of another theme. I want to say. Um,
You leave the movie feeling a little bad. That's really
yeah,
what it
you
is.
really do.
Yeah.
It's
But
oh man,
it's common. It's not unique to this movie.
yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. But yeah, I saw the devil. I recommend it. I also don't recommend it if you have kind of if you're sensitive to these kinds of things. Violence against women, it's really hard on that. There's a really, and it's a vengeance kind of thing. It's just got a lot of shit that you got to contend with. But I loved it. I saw it in LA, at a little indie theater,
Nice.
and
Nice.
I was sitting in the theater going, "What the
I'm
fuck?"
surprised. I'm surprised it was released in the U.S.
Yeah, it
Uh,
was really limited release. I remember seeing
I'd
it.
I'd I'd figured, yeah,
I
it's
saw it
very
with
limited.
a guy on my college water polo team. It was this random like, "Hey, do you want to go see this with me?" Oh yeah,
What
sure.
and what did your friend think? Do you
He was
remember?
Korean, so he was
Oh,
like,
he's like,
"Fuck yeah."
yeah.
Yeah, no, so he knew. He was like, "Fuck yeah, dog." Like, I think like those were his exact words after the theater, after the getting out of the theater. I just kind of looked at him. He's like, "Oh yeah, fuck yeah, dog." Like,
Yeah, he probably knew what
I
was
knew.
happening. He
I was
knows.
like, "Oh shit."
God
Um,
damn.
yeah, the movie's incredible. I really want to show it to my girlfriend, but I also don't want to show it to my girlfriend because I don't think she.
Just long as you warn her and you see if she gauge interest, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if she could handle it, but maybe
Yeah,
we'll see.
you can always see the
Um,
Korean romantic movies. You'll hate it, but she'll might
yeah,
like
okay,
it.
yeah. All right, Johnny. We are on number one.
So number one, I knew I was going to do a Bong Joon Ho movie. There's a lot to be there. I think we've talked about Parasite a lot. I know I've mentioned how much I enjoy Snowpiercer as well.
Yeah.
Memories of a Murder. I have not seen that. That's something that's always been on my list. I am, unlike you guys, a little bit low on the host, but that's because I really should have watched it as a B grade monster movie rather than taking it like. I think the first time I watched it, I took it too seriously. Second time I watched it, I found it to be better once I like realized like the comedy in
Hmm.
the movie. But I'm gonna echo what Jared is saying, but I think the one that I enjoyed the most so far is Mother.
Hmm.
Mother is a great kind of like mystery crime drama. So, Jared explained it earlier. I would recommend not watching any trailers to this movie and just go into this movie blind because you will be absolutely enthralled with the story. It also kind of makes you question, as a mother, knowing about, if your son was accused of murder, you would do everything as unconditional love. But this movie kind of puts it on its head, like all the way up to the end. And I think that is probably one of the best things about this movie
Hmm.
is to question what unconditional love looks like and what it kind of is to believe if you were thinking that your son was accused of a murder, especially when he is not as intelligent as the rest of the world. So, yeah, if there's one movie that I think you guys should start off with, it would be Mother.
That's a heavy pick, I think. I
Yeah.
think a lot of these. I mean, you should pick like a happier movie. I think just
Now,
because.
man, you start strong.
Well, here I'll do a little. How about this? Spoilers. Spoilers. Feel free to edit this out if you need to. It's just if you're gonna watch Mother, the fact that the son is actually the killer and the mom goes to extraordinary lengths to protect him and kill everyone else, and then the son finds out that the mom did all that, and they're both kind of like, okay, that's a lot of people have a hard time swallowing that, I think, and it does have an extremely interesting way of looking at unconditional love. It's sort of like if I asked like a best friend's like, bro, I just killed a person. We need to bury them, and the bro's like, fuck yeah, let's do it. It's one of those things.
I get that, but I think this is the reason why I would recommend this movie above all else is because if this was in the hands of an American director or American screenwriter,
Be way too on the nose.
that not only that it would be too on the nose, that ending would never have happened because there's a certain sincerity about her justifying everything that's going on because she's trying to protect her son. I guarantee you, if an American person was writing this, it would be flipped in some way where
She turns him in or
she
something.
turns him in, or she's the one that takes it, or it wouldn't play out the way this is. That's why Americans that are so used to watching these type of crime dramas, if they watch this movie, they're gonna be like, "Oh shit!" It really took not only an unexpected turn, but it's gonna end in a way where it makes everyone unsettled. But I think sometimes you kind of have to do with movies like that, and that's why I appreciate Korean films a lot, or even foreign films in general, because they don't always look to end on a happy note. They let the story evolve the way I think they want it to play out, and this movie plays out the way Moon Jung Ho wrote it.
Bong Joon-ho.
Great, great, great description, Johnny. I really think that ending is a real gut punch. You're fully behind this woman and the lengths she's going to this whole time, and then the ending, you're like, fuck.
Yeah, you're fully
And
behind her
Was this
because
worth it?
you think that it's actually like a blackmail or like a setup. But the question is, she's wrong.
Yeah.
Like then what do you do? Like, as a practical, like what would you as the audience do? It's an interesting question.
but yes, you asking that question to me makes this movie even more because
Hmm.
as a person that you know, I would want to think my mom would not do that if I did something like that and having no knowledge that she would turn the right thing. But at the same time, if I was a father, would I go to these lengths to do that to protect my son and kind of go through that? And it's kind of like, and that's why I love this movie so much is because he actually just the way he writes it, he makes you think and feel these emotions because the way he set it up made you root for her the whole entire time. Like there's something off. There's really something off. Like I don't think he did it. And then when you find out that he did, you're like, oh shit, And that was kind of like an oh shit moment. And then everything from that happened. I'm like, oh crap, what the hell's going on? And it makes sense because it flows with the story really well. That's why.
Brutal.
Yes.
Joe.
So I don't really have much to say here. I'm gonna just suggest a couple movies just because Mother was there too. And there's not anything I want to add to there that you guys have already said. For the people that are listening, we said that Old Boy was a good pick. Again, if you don't want to watch the old school Old Boy, you can always watch the remake. It sort of keeps the general structure of the movie there, and the main twists and all that. We haven't mentioned Parasite because it's a really popular movie, and I'm sure a lot of you guys watched it. But if you have a friend that is trying to get into Korean films and looking to do something, Parasite's a very very easier thing to get into. Um, and again, with everything else, and even Parasite being as popular as it is, some of the tropes are still there. The
Hmm.
family,
Absolutely.
shit happens to the family. They sort of move up in life and all this sort of thing. And at the very end, you're like, oh, the son's gonna make it and buy the house. Psych! All of it was just a dream, or all of it was just him being hopeful, all that. So you finish again. You finish the movie being, man, this is still fucking sad a little bit, and it
You
creates great twists and all
and
that. What's
I
up?
think what you said about it being a good entryway into this type of cinema
Yeah,
is
yeah.
very, very accurate. It has that oh shit moment with with you realizing that oh shit, there was somebody living down underneath the house the whole
Like these
time.
parasites.
It has the themes of kind of capitalism and class warfare going on. It has beautiful cinematography. Also, it's really visceral at the end. The violence that's in it. Violence is a very common theme in these
Big
movies,
time, big time.
and I think Parasite is a really good entryway. If Parasite spoke to you in any way, it's it's absolutely worth it to look in to expanding on this, because these movies are all fantastic. My number one is a movie that we discussed before. I thought about putting something else here. I was kind of like Joe, Parasite, yeah, should be on my list, yada yada. But I kind of wanted to expand on other things. Of course, Parasite's amazing. My number one is
Right.
Old Boy.
Yeah, yeah.
It was my first foray into Korean cinema, and it was intense. This movie has a creeping dread to it that I think American cinema like strives to achieve, and only gets close in very few instances. This movie has scenes in it, and the cinematography is so fucking unreal. When it's that pan of the hallway fight and
It's
it
always
doesn't
that
cut,
hallway fight with everyone.
oh my goodness, it is just it's so real looking. And he ends up with the knife in his back, he's all fucked up, and then just there's so many moments in this movie where you're thinking, like, you're uncomfortable. It makes you feel uncomfortable. It gives you that sense of like, oh god, I want to look away, but I can't. Even from the minute he eats that live octopus, I really feel that that's me watching this movie. The movie is the octopus and I'm him eating it, and it's squirming around in my mouth. It's squirming. It's making me feel uncomfortable as I watch it, and I can't not, because it's so good, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the whole point, right? The movie's a weird, dark,
Yeah, it's so fucking weird.
brutal. It is what I mean. That's what it is, and I think people, just as long as they realize that when they're going in, it's gonna pay out in dividends.
So wild. Yeah, so that Old Boy's my number one. I think it might be a little bit on the nose, but I don't think there's a movie. I,
It
I don't think I had to put it at number one because it was the first one I saw, and it was my gateway into this.
Wow. When did you watch it?
Oh, I was in high school at the time,
Okay. Yeah.
and it was my
Damn.
first kind of foray into Korean cinema. It was the first time I'd watched this, and I was
That
like,
is a crazy one to start with.
and
I
I
mean,
was like, "Fuck, is this what all of them are like?" And then
I mean, it set the bar real high too.
yeah,
It's crazy, but
um, I'm gonna butcher his name, but Choi Choi Min Sik. He was
sure.
the he plays he's the main character in Old Boy, and
Mhm.
he's the bad guy serial killer in I Saw the Devil. I don't think I've seen a more magnetic person on screen in a long time than him. He commands your attention just by being there. He's so
He's
good.
he made an interesting transition to American films because he was also in Lucy as well.
Oh
If you
yeah,
didn't
huh?
know, yeah. It's interesting because a lot of these people have interesting like what do you call it, careers before that. For example, like the dad in the deep voice dad in Parasite.
Yeah.
He was like a Broadway singer
Oh,
that didn't really
interesting.
have, and then he just got this, and it was a great hit. So, and for people that are listening that want like something that's completely 180 from what we pick, like if you want a romantic film, a really popular one is My Sassy Girl. I think a lot of people
Oh,
watch
I heard
that.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, at least you've heard about it. Um, it's one of those classic Korean. I mean, my sister liked it, my mom liked it. I thought it was okay, but again, it's not my cup of tea, so to speak. And
Um,
yeah, that's what it is.
I have a honorable mention.
Go for it.
It's The Good, the Bad, and the Weird.
Oh yes,
It's
yes,
kind of
very
like
good.
a silly western. action.
Yeah. Uh huh.
Um, and I really liked that. That was like a good kind of palate cleanser from a lot of these really hardcore,
Very hardcore.
intense
Very
ass
hardcore.
vengeance
Yeah.
movies that we're recommending. Yeah, I
And for everyone watching it or listening, sorry, it's check out all these movies. But if you're gonna get into everything else, there's everything else. Like this is just a tiny bit of Asian culture. There's the Chinese films there. There's Japanese films. There's Filipino films.
I would like to do one week. I would like to do Japanese films.
It's all
Um,
100%. And in regards to, and I'll try to keep it short, but in regards to Korean shows, and we were talking a little bit about how Japanese TV is kind of weird. Korean TV is also very niche. Uh,
oh, okay.
I think people that kind of get in, like started getting into it, like they're not gonna have any issues finding these. But like in terms of variety shows, that eats up so much of the TV time because people like it. And it's like Korean talk shows as well. And talk shows, how in America you have like Conan, you have like Late Night Tonight Show and all that kind of stuff. The format's not that like that at all. It's people just shooting the shit and just watching stupid stuff. And yes, it's sort of similar to like react videos and things like that. But um, and for a guy who has a very much American palate for types of humor, these Korean variety shows, man, it's one of the few times where I've laughed the hardest. So if you're gonna get into it, definitely check out the movies that we mentioned before, but also definitely check out other genres that might interest you. And definitely, in my opinion, you should check out Korean variety shows because I think they do it very, very well. Specifically, if you wanted some quick suggestions, Running Man's a big one, Masked King's a big one, Return of Superman's also a very big one. So there you go.
I also want to add something for earlier in the podcast.
Yeah, what's that?
I don't think we're getting a Dune sequel, boys. I'm really pissed because they're gonna
No, what
release a day
happened?
and date on HBO Max, and shit's not gonna make any money, and we're not gonna get a sequel. We're not gonna get to see anything, and I'm
Well,
sad.
What if they looked at the
well,
amount of viewer data or something?
I wouldn't say that they wouldn't get a sequel. The best thing for you as a Dune fan is that AT&T
Oh
pretty much
yeah,
branched off HBO to form with Discovery. So now you actually have a person that works on TV or movies now running the HBO,
yeah,
CNN,
true.
that side. So you might get lucky. It's just that when you have a telecom company running a movie division, this is where I think a lot of the problems arise. And so that's why, when Verizon and AT&T were buying these things up, they thought they could run the movie division as if they were doing uh, phones, but realizes that cellular and movies are completely two different businesses, and
I
so them writing it off now, like selling it for like at a discount, or it's a merger thing. But I think this might actually be a better thing. It's just that I don't think that they were ever gonna escape date and day. Like it's just because of the way the
Yeah,
contracts work. What
sure.
I'm hoping is that this is a movie where if you get a lot of streaming data and then you do okay enough by COVID standards in the box office, you probably will get a sequel. It's
I
just,
hope, man. I
yeah.
mean, it's going to be a big ask because it's a 3-hour movie about space Bedouins and space spice and worms and shit
I
like
l-
that.
but I mean I love, as someone who's not like super into that kind of thing. I still love Dune and I still love space operas. I still like space movies and sci-fi and stuff and
Yeah.
futuristic, nihilistic worlds and things like that. I think it's awesome.
To me, if this movie makes as much money as Blade Runner 2049, it'll be fine. But it has to make as
Has
Eh,
to.
much. And Blade Runner
I
2049 did not make a lot of money.
y-
Let's be real about this.
yeah, but I don't know, man. I still think that's gonna be kind of tough.
I think it's going to be longer than Blade Runner. I think that's the tough
I
thing.
don't
And,
really
and and if it's
mind
longer
long
than Blade Runner,
movies.
then I guess that's why the day and date makes sense,
Yeah.
because they know that there's going to be less viewings in theaters.
Yeah.
Therefore, you got to put it out
Kevin
with the
Smith said
streaming.
it was fucking awesome, and
Let
I
me ask
am.
you this. When's the last time you watched a 3 hour or 3 hour plus movie? And like, do you guys remember the last one or two movies that was that long? Like, I really
Yeah,
don't.
the Hateful Eight.
Yeah,
That
Hateful
was
Eight.
3 hours.
Well, it's because there was an intermission. So
So
yeah.
Okay,
here,
well,
okay,
okay, all
that's.
right.
I was talking with my friend about this the other day. Would you appreciate an intermission more often in film?
Like to take a piss. Like, what's the
Yeah,
purpose of this?
give me a 10-15 minute intermission at like
Like
a
the
cliffhanger point.
seventh inning stretch.
Yeah, or
Um,
like like Sound of Music, West Side Story. Those all have intermissions like Broadway.
and the intermission would literally be the movie saying, "We're gonna pause for 10 minutes,
that
and
I
we're
mean
just
that's what it has on the screen, intermission.
I
And
interesting."
I would love movies that do intermissions,
Mhm.
but the problem is that generation today doesn't consume media like that. Like they see intermission, they're probably going to leave. They don't consume it as if it's like a play. It's not a
Uh,
prestige thing. Do you when you go see? I still go to movies and treat it as if like I'm doing something really cool and special. Some
it is
people
cool and
watch
special, man. What the fuck are you talking about?
other people go to the movie theaters, and this is why we have someone like us, like me and Jared, that will yell at people that can't get off
fucking
their
You,
fucking phones
you old
because
people.
they don't
there was there was
respect the seat that's going on
oh
here.
my god, I remember speaking to these youths that were taking selfies in a row in front of me. Get the
uh,
fuck out of here.
Yeah, that's legit. But I think that it's more on the movie theater to enforce because I think everyone knows. Like, you don't have to be youth, and youth is just being dumb. Everyone knows the general etiquette of a dark movie theater.
Yeah.
Not only do they say it at the beginning, but they sort of know because you've been there. It's been around forever, right? But yes,
No, man.
the only time I've actually went up and said something was I was watching like a midnight showing of something, and this two couple in the very back they fell asleep and started snoring, both of them, and so to the point where like it's distracting, so I had to like kind of wake them up. But that's really about it. But I don't think I've ran into a lot of issues in movie theaters in general. But I I don't know. I mean, would I like an intermission? I would. I mean, I've think I've
I
with
think
a lot of movies I've watched, I would like one.
I think the movie theaters would like it because it would give them a chance to sell more concessions.
Boom. But I think the movie business don't give a shit about they get this concessions is purely a movie theater profit, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
so
it's
the
what they live
way
on.
that so the theaters don't make a profit until I don't know, the fourth or fifth week that movies are in theaters.
yeah,
And I think I don't know. I've been to movies so often with people that have to go to the bathroom in the middle, that have
yeah,
to, that I
yeah.
got to fucking catch them up. I just think having a predetermined, hey, intermission, you have 10 minutes to go to the bathroom, check your phone, get a snack, get some more Reese's Pieces, refill the popcorn, get another soda. I think in my mind that's a win-win, but maybe
You would have to convince the people that are filming it to build the movie around the intermission a
totally.
little bit.
You absolutely would have to
And
do that. And I
I
think that's a big
also
ask.
I mean, that's okay, but I also wonder, do you think it'll cost them anything extra to do this?
No, of course not.
I
Okay.
mean, I would love intermissions, but then that's me trusting the filmmaker to make a good 3 hour movie. Because at
Well,
2 hours,
I don't think you even have to do it. I think you could
Put
even
a
do it
put
in
a
like a
5 minute intermission in a 2 hour movie.
I
no,
I I
no.
think that would be great.
I would absolutely hate that. Like
Johnny, I hope the
two
next time you
hour,
watch a movie, you gotta take a giant ass piss right at the peak.
then that's my fault. That
Yeah.
that I will accept blame on that.
Okay.
I
You
just
plan ahead.
for 2 hours, no way. There's like we have been conditioned enough to where we can scroll TikTok for 2 hours on end. You can sit through a movie for 2 hours. I am okay with that.
Oh, I'm not
Yeah.
talking. I'm not talking about because of attention span. I'm talking because
But
bathroom,
it,
like that
but I
kind of stuff.
but I think it's partly attention span because if I told you if there's an intermission, but we're going to be in this theater for 3 hours, I know my wife won't be going to watch any movies with me from here on out. At that point, what? There's an intermission? It must be long. No, no, thanks. We're not going.
Because she's
Like,
not the fan of, well, I mean, she's just not the fan of a long movie. I mean, that's a
She
lot of
can
people are like
accept the
that.
long. Yeah, so I would like it. It just has to be like a special marquee, right? Even like West Side Story was like with intermission was like a 3 hour movie. Like these are movies that unfortunately we can't. Also, on a business standpoint, I know we can't turn movies that quickly. I
But
don't think.
also, I think you can't edit the West Side Stories and those types of movies out because they have, yeah.
Yeah, that would mean that I would have that would also mean that the movie studios are knowingly, willingly allowing them to make those type of movies, which they
Mhm.
don't anymore. So I would need and the only ones that do are the ones that stream. Like you get those 3 hour movies from Netflix,
Mhm.
from Amazon, from like HBO Max because they know that you're in a confines of your home and you can pause it. They'll never let that happen, unfortunately, as of right now, unless there's a big movie renaissance that happens within the next 10 to 15 years.
The new West Side Story looks really interesting. I saw the trailer for Steven Spielberg, and
Steven
it'll
Spielberg needs
be
a great movie, man. Like it's been a while. He
in a
needs to
minute.
make a great one. I don't need a oh that's good. No, I need a great one to come out. Like
I have high hopes for West Side Story, but I don't even know if that one will count because it's a
stop
remake.
hitting
And
singles. I want a home run. God damn it.
It's
Stop
you know
hitting
you,
singles.
it's easy to ask, I guess.
did you guys like War of the Worlds?
Wait, is this with Tom Cruise? Wait,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was fine.
It's aged better. I didn't
yeah,
really
it
enjoy
really
it the
has,
first
hasn't it?
time.
Yeah.
It's a movie that has aged well. It's just the first time I watched it, I didn't really care for it, and I think it's because when I see Tom Cruise, there's a certain type of movie I'm
Yeah.
thinking of, and that was not the one thing I was thinking of.
That Tim Robbins sequence is still one of the most intense fucking things in a movie theater I've seen.
I'm curious to know how many more Mission Impossibles.
Oh,
Uh,
how long can
Until
he
he
walk?
dies.
also, it's I'm sort of not believing that the mission is not impossible anymore.
It's not. It is somewhat possible.
And also, I enjoyed them, so
Yeah, I'll go watch him. I think he's a
yeah,
dumpster fire of a human, but I'll watch him
yeah,
for
100%.
sure.
Yeah, good
Um,
action, good action.
all right, everybody, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you for listening. We're gonna get some plugs in. Joe, our plug master,
Yeah, all
plug
right,
master
you guys,
flex.
you can find us and this podcast and on Twitter and Instagram at Film Lovers GTTG. Please send us all of your comments, thoughts. I even if you have to talk shit on us, I will. I'll gladly take criticism. Let us know what you think about Korean films in general. And if you did check out some of the films, let us know if you think it was pretty intense in a good way or a bad way. And if you do check out those variety shows, you let me know if it's funny and if you enjoyed them. Because I think what's going to happen for a lot of people is you'll watch one, and it'll be 6 in the morning, believe it or not, before you know it. So, but you can find us there. So please send us comments and please let us know what you think.
All right, Johnny, where can people find you?
If you want to hear my thoughts and rants on sports, politics, all that stuff, you can find me on Twitter, IG at JNO11. That's JNGO11. I also do another podcast with a couple hosts at Mortal Kombat. You can find them at Mortal Kombat Pod. Next tournament we are doing is who is the best Pokemon out of the original 151. Some of us is taking it seriously, the other ones are trolling, so it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to turn out.
You can find the real greatest Pokemon in Kadabra. Evolves out of Abra. Kadabra holds a spoon like Yuri Geller, and it's hilarious.
so so yes, there's two trains of thoughts on how we're gonna do this tournament.
No, but really, Kadabra's the best. I'm getting a tattoo of him later in the year.
Fantastic.
Nice.
You can find me at JLUTHY on Twitter. I tweet about pro wrestling, politics, that kind of stuff. Because honestly, everything is pro wrestling. If you think about it, you can
Squared
email
circle.
us questions. Once we start getting questions, guys, we're gonna start reading them and have a questions segment to the show. You
It's gonna
can
be great.
email us at filmloverspod. That's filmloverspod at gmail.com. And listen, Galaxy Brains, I want to answer some questions, so send them to us. Even if it's to tell us your favorite Pokemon is something dumb like a Diglett or whatever. I'm fine with it. I'll read that on the air.
Oh God.
Also, Snorlax isn't great.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
Have a good one, Galaxy Brains, signing off.